Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show. Sixers fans, welcome to another episode of Planet 76 podcast, episode 144, and we are all smiles on this one. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fun always. It definitely made your heart race. But the Sixers take care of business against the Miami Heat by a final score of 105-104. And Sixers fans, if you have not already ordered your Nico Batum jersey, you might want to do that because he was the best player on the floor tonight. I think that's what Michael said on his Trust the Love post. He was so good and so needed because Embiid and Maxey did not, by any stretch of the imagination, have their best game. And Sixers somehow, some way get it done. Again, this is episode 144. We're going to talk about this 7-8 play-in game for the next few moments, and then we're going to hit right to it because Sixers are heading to New York for round one, game one on Saturday at Madison Square Garden. So we're going to preview that. This is our round one Sixers-Knicks preview episode, as well as a recap of the play-in game that the Sixers just played, finishing up an hour ago. So, Michael, I know you're anxious to say something about this one. This was huge. We talked about it leading up. This was massive. This was a 10 out of 10 must win. How are you feeling now?
Relieved. I'm relieved, especially after the way the game started. The Sixers were down double digits multiple different times in the second and third quarter, but I'm relieved. I'm glad this game is over. I'm glad the Sixers came out with a win. I saw a lot of a lot of bad things in this game, but I saw a lot of good things in this game that give me hope for this upcoming series against the Knicks. I loved what I saw from really everybody. I mean, to start, the whole team did not play well at all, so that's kind of a whole team thing. You can't really pick on anyone individually per se. Obviously, Embiid did not look great. We all saw that. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because he still contributed a lot defensively. He made some awesome passes, and I talked about it in a post on my page a little while ago, but he made some awesome passes in this game. Really gave me hope for what kind of value he can provide outside of scoring against another extremely tougher opponent in the New York Knicks, because they're going to do some of the same things that the Heat did tonight. They're going to double him early. They're going to double him high. They're going to double him a lot, and he's going to have to be able to what's the word I'm looking for? He's going to have to be able to, he's going to have to be ready for that. He's going to have to be able to find answers for double teams, and especially when it's bigger players at him. The Knicks have a lot of more capable defenders. OG Anunoby they can throw at him. Jericho Sims, Mitchell Robinson, not anybody particularly great defensively, Jericho Sims, but guys that they can throw at Joel Embiid. He's going to have to be ready for the double team. He's going to have to be ready for quick coverage. And I saw flashes of that tonight. He made some really good passes. He made some really good decisions tonight with the ball in his hands that did not have to do with scoring. So that gives me a lot of hope. And what he can do in that department is going to determine a lot of what the Sixers do, because if he's making good decisions with the ball, if he's making good reads with the ball in his hands, it only gives the Sixers more options for what they can do in terms of running the offense through Embiid, because it's one thing to have the offense run through Embiid because of his scoring, but if it's another to run the offense through Embiid because of his decision-making and because of his willingness to pass the ball and because of his awareness of where the defenders are, who's coming at me from the corner, who's coming at me from the wing, is somebody behind me, like the awareness, the decision-making. It opens up the floor. It opens up so many layers for the Sixers if Joel Embiid is in rhythm and able to do these things at a high level, yes, but consistently, not just once or twice, a couple good passes here and there. He's gonna have to be able to do this for the rest of the playoffs. and it's going to be big. And tonight, I saw a lot of that. So it really is nice to see that.
Yeah, against the Knicks, he's going to have to be crisp. He's going to have to be precise in decision making because, like you said, they're gonna they're gonna go all out in bringing him different looks, and so how's he going to respond? And tonight's an example of, if you're going to tell me that Embiid was going to go 6 for 17 and struggle at times, I want to be very confident that the Sixers won that game, and so it was kind of, in a way, like you said, it's relieving, but it's also like, it's just kind of nice to know that the Sixers did, in fact, win a game against a Miami Heat team that was doing everything they could to win, and Sixers still come out on top, even though Joel Embiid, again, a bad night for Joel Embiid, still finished with 23 points, 15 boards, 5 assists, and a big 3 late, a big and 1 late. Like, he was massive. A big, huge pass to Oubre late to, I think, extend the lead to 4. He was very good late, and other guys stepped up. Nico Batum, obviously offense and defense. He made 6 threes. He had a huge block on Tyler Hero late. He made Tyler Hero, go back court off like a ball screen way out high, and then just some other things that he did were just really, really solid tonight. So that's why he was on the floor to finish the game. Kyle Lowry was out there. Kelly Oubre was out there. Buddy Hield had a good run, for his, I think, 18 minutes, and Tyrese Maxey finished with 19.6 assists. I'll just throw some numbers at you. 6 of 16 from the field in 44 minutes. Embiid played 38 minutes. Sixers knocked down the free throws, and that was a huge difference in this one. 21 of 23 from the free throw line. The Heat left a few out there, 14 of 19. Tyler Hero led the way for them on 9 of 27 shooting, so just 33%, 25 points. Jimmy Butler, similar, 19 points on 5 of 18. Jaime Jaquez had 15, Bam had 10 and 12. But the Sixers, nonetheless, come out on top against the Miami Heat, 105-104. They secure their spot in the playoffs. And again, as Michael just alluded to, they're heading up to New York on Saturday, 6 o'clock tip for Game 1 against the 2 seed New York Knicks. A couple more thoughts on this one tonight against Miami, and then we'll move toward that. But Michael, what is a game like this? We've already talked about the fact that, the Stars didn't exactly play particularly well, and yet they still win. But, what else do you kind of learn about this team, and what does it tell you about their chances maybe moving forward? How about just what this does for the team right now?
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it too, so I'm sure you would agree, but the Sixers being able to win when their stars aren't particularly playing properly, playing the way they are, / usually do, / should play, it's nice to see guys like Nick Batum, Kelly Oubre played super well. Cam Payne only played a few minutes, but he hit some threes. He scored some points in his time. Kyle Lowry was pretty big tonight too. It's nice to Buddy Hield. Everybody, really, everyone played their part, and it's nice to finally have games and scenarios where the supporting cast helps Embiid, because a lot of times it's Embiid doing a lot of the dirty work, doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but now it's the other way around. Embiid was struggling. The supporting cast came through and played super well, played well above expectation. You don't expect Batum to hit 6 threes and 20 points, play amazing defense, and rebound the ball like he did tonight. Kelly Oubre, again, was great. Kyle Lowry was great. It tells you that this is something that the Sixers can do. This is the team they can be, a team that Embiid plays okay, but they still have guys who can make things happen, guys who can score, guys who can defend, hit threes. It's something we knew about them, but it's not something we saw enough of in the regular season. So I'm hoping this is kind of going to be the norm moving forward for this team. I don't know. I hope so, because all of this ties together in what's going to need to happen if they're going to beat the Knicks and what's going to need to happen if they're going to win moving forward. So it's nice to see flashes of that from the guys, from the non-Embiid guys on this team. And again, I'm sure you would agree. You kind of gave your thoughts to that too. So it's telling, and it makes you hopeful for what's to come because these guys did what they did tonight when the stakes were super high, and maybe the highest they'll be for the whole playoffs. We don't know yet, but
Hmm.
the stakes were super high tonight. The lights were very bright, and everyone came through, even when Embiid didn't play the way that Embiid usually plays.
Yeah, I mean they continued to fight. I have a friend that's a Miami Heat fan. He texted
Oh,
me quickly
really?
after the game, and he said I would have loved a different result, but they were able to get it done. And he said they climbed back in it. They showed heart, and he said hats
Mm-hmm.
off to them. And that is what this team did. Without it, again,
Mm-hmm.
we've said it, but without Embiid and Maxey on absolute top of their game, these guys played well. I mean, the three you mentioned, it's funny because I don't know if I'll go and find the clip, but in our play-in preview episode, you kind of mentioned that these guys like Oubre and Lowry and Batum, like they just go out and play. They go out and play basketball, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a Heat identity kind of thing there. And tonight they did, and we needed it. And those guys were on the floor early and often, and they are the reason the Sixers won this basketball game. And you don't, like you kind of said, like we don't say that very often
No, it's
about
usually
some
the
of these
opposite.
guys.
It's
So
usually
it's a
somebody
breath
from
of
the
fresh
other
air.
team scorching the Sixers.
Right.
But it was
Exactly.
the other way around tonight.
Exactly. It was the other way around. Last thought, and this isn't something like I just feel a need to say it. It's not something I would normally say because I don't want to make like guarantee kind of statements like this. But, and I don't want this to become a whole segment, but this team does not win this game if the head coach is Glenn Rivers.
No. No. No, it
Just
doesn't need to
don't.
be a whole segment, but you're right. You're right. 100%.
That's it. Period.
That's it. And we know why. We know why that would be the case. There's nothing to talk about. We
That's
know
all we
why
gotta say.
it would not be
That's
the
all we
same
gotta say.
result. Right.
Right. You just give that situation kind of, again, the way to fight back in against a Miami team down by 12 at half, like that Glenn Rivers team folds and we lose by 15-20
Yeah.
at home. But this team didn't do that, and we're happy about that. All right, moving on to round one. The 2 seed New York Knicks, the 7 seed officially Philadelphia 76ers. A little bit about the Knicks. They come into the postseason with a 50-32 record, led by Jalen Brunson, averaging nearly 29 points a game. Dante DiVincenzo has come into his own. He's averaging almost 16 a game. You mentioned OG Anunoby, a guy that we kind of are interested in when he was on the trading block, and he's averaging about 15 a game. Josh Hart, kind of their do everything guy, averages close to 10, 8 boards and 4 assists. You mentioned a couple of their bigs. Although they play very small, they play fast, they run and gun. They're kind of a different team. They still have a defensive identity, one of the best in the league as far as points per game, given up. Yeah, 50-32, a very good season for the Knicks. Before we get into too much detail in the weeds of things, what's your kind of just initial thought on this New York Knicks team?
I'm big on giving respect where it's due. I think the Knicks were awesome this year. There's no denying that. They very much earned the second seed in the East. Jalen Brunson is amazing. He's kind of ascended to a level where there aren't many players. Like, how do I say this? There aren't many guys on his level of like production and guys who aren't superstars, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Like there aren't many guys doing what he's doing who are on his level or superstars. If that does that I think that kind of
Yeah,
makes sense. But you get what
it
I think you
does.
get what I'm saying. Nah, but the Knicks are really good. They're a really good team. I'm excited to beat them. I mean, I'm excited to play them. And you just have to tip your hat to them, to Brunson, DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby. I'm a big fan, still am,
Mm-hmm.
because that doesn't just change because he went to the Knicks, not the Sixers. We talked about OG Anunoby a lot, so you all are pretty familiar with his game, what he brings, his strengths, his weaknesses, although he doesn't have many as a player, and we'll see that in this series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. A couple notes you have here, some heavy emphasis on the three ball for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson is probably one of the best isolation scorers in the NBA, so that's going to have to be something the Sixers look out for. Finding an answer for that, maybe limiting his ability to get into isolation and isolate on a guy like Maxey. Lowry could actually probably play him pretty well in isolation. Healed, Payne. Brunson is smaller, but he's kind of a bigger build, so it's easier for him to post up smaller guards and hit jumpers, fadeaways over them. So that's something the Sixers are definitely going to have to look out for. And it's a shame because if DeAnthony Melton plays, that'd be a good way to help neutralize Brunson. But I don't know if he's going to play. He didn't play in the play-in. I don't know what's the deal with him. Don't know what's the deal with Covington still. I talked about him last episode. I don't know where Covington is. I don't know where Melton is. But these two guys will be super valuable to have for this playoff series. I don't know if Covington's coming back. I saw something that said Nick Nurse said he's not coming back. That sucks. Could the same be true for Melton? We'll have to wait and see. But those guys will be super great to have for this series, especially against a guy like Brunson.
Yeah, Brunson. I mean, you look at what he's done this year, and he's on another level even as of late. The month of April, he's averaging 36 points a game. That's not including a 61-point game he had at the end of March. He's just on a tear over the last several games, 40, 30, 39, 45, 43, 35, 35. He's on fire. And, you kind of gave a little thing about Brunson with, just the way that he's playing and the level at which he's playing. Some of it, and in the most respectful way possible, because, I mean, he's very good. I get it. Some of it just doesn't make sense because he's not the fastest guy. He doesn't have great size. He's not super quick. He's crafty. He's not the best shooter. So some of it on paper just it just doesn't make sense, but he gets the job done and he's very, very, very good. He's very good. I mean, this is his second full season in New York, and he's taken another jump. In his first year, he averaged 24 points a game, coming over from Dallas, where he was 12, 16 points over the last couple seasons. But taking his game to a whole nother level this season, his 3-point numbers are up. He's taken almost 7 a game, shooting 40%. Again, he finds ways to score. He finds ways to facilitate. He's averaging a career high in points and assists this year. He's a threat. He's a threat. And you mentioned a couple guys. I mean Melton. Oh my goodness, he would do a lot. But Kyle Lowry continues to surprise us, and he can give anybody fits. Kyle Lowry's he's a pest like that, and I'm glad he's on our side now because that used to annoy the crap out of us. So. So Jalen Brunson, yeah, he's their guy for sure. But they have some other pieces that have stepped up in a lot of different moments this year. DiVincenzo. I'd be an idiot to not mention my guy Deuce McBride, who's really stepped up for them. Even played in 68 games this season for them, averaging over 8 points a game. But he's just another guy that they have that can kind of fill that role. He had 24 just a few nights ago. Had 29 against Toronto at the end of March. He had 26 against Brooklyn. They just have a lot of guards. They play a lot of guards, and they're talented. So with all that said, before we get into kind of some things that the Sixers can capitalize on in this series, what are some concerns that the Knicks present to you?
I think some concerns are definitely a lot of what we saw from the Heat tonight. Physical defenders, guys that can cause a lot of turnovers, guys like Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, even Jalen Brunson. You don't consider Brunson a particularly good defender, but he's one of those guys that can definitely bother you on the ball. definitely good in passing lanes and kind of like a Lowry-esque type of player. He's pesky. He can really get on guys, especially guards. I look at him kind of like a guard, like a point guard Jimmy Butler, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Jimmy Butler is actually legitimately a really good defender, but I don't know how to really describe that. I'm just going to leave that out there. They have guys who can definitely make life difficult for the Sixers on the perimeter. They don't really have, nobody's going to have an answer for Embiid, but what I will say is that I kind of mentioned it earlier, they have guys who can make things kind of difficult for Embiid, Robinson, Achua, a bigger, not taller, but bigger athletic forward who they can throw at Embiid, who's had, I think, some success against Embiid. Now, that was a couple years ago in the Raptors series, but nothing substantial, not enough to really worry about it too much. They have guys that can throw at Embiid if they need to, and that could maybe be of some concern, especially if Embiid is still not. He's not going to be 100%. But if he can be close, that's great. However, it doesn't look like he's going to be that close. So that could cause some problems for the Sixers. And the three-point shooting, again, is something that they're going to have to watch out for. This team, let me just double-check to see how many threes they take.
That's what I'm doing right now. That's hilarious.
Are you actually?
Yeah, I'll grab it. They're about middle of the pack. They take 35.5 a game, which you'd think would be like league leading, but it's not.
Do you see where they rank in terms of 3-point attempts?
Yeah, they're
like among the rest of the league.
Yeah, they're about middle of the pack.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's Brunson. Like, they have guys who can hit threes. Is really what I'm going to say.
Yep.
Brunson, DiVincenzo, Anunoby. What are they close to have on their team? I don't even know half the roster. Honestly, I'm just kidding. No, but they do have guys that can hit threes. No, Randall hurts them a lot. Bogdanovich, I forgot. See, I forgot they had him. The NBA made so many moves in the trade deadline that I forgot.
Oh, the Knicks, yeah, man.
Guys are new. Have new homes. But having Randall is going to be huge. I'm so sorry. Not having Randall for the Knicks is going to be huge for the Sixers.
Yeah.
Not that he poses any real particular threat, because he's a really good player, but he's not like game altering, if that makes sense. He's not a guy where you're like, man, Julius Randle can really beat. I mean, he can really beat you, but it's not one of those things where it's like he's just gonna dominate the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that as a slight to Randle, because he's really good. It's just that it's not the same as like a Jalen Brunson. Like, you got to worry about Jalen Brunson.
Right.
You don't really have to worry about Julius Randle. But he's still a big part of their team. I'm kind of just ranting right now. I don't know what I'm fully saying, honestly. But what I do know is that the Sixers are going to have an easier time against the Knicks without Julius Randle. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to ramble anymore.
Yeah, I agree. But, even the Knicks are really playing a very unique style lately with all these guards. I mean, they have a lot of guards. Again, Brunson, DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, whatever you consider him to be. Then they got McBride. They have Alec Burks, who, again, I mean, it kind of just depends on what Tibbs wants to do, I guess. Shake Milton's also on the team, by the way.
Oh my gosh!
So that could be interesting.
I forgot he was with them.
Yeah.
How did he get there?
I forget.
He was with the Pistons. He was with the Timberwolves, and then he went to the Pistons.
Yeah.
How did he get on the Knicks?
No idea.
We never did a Shake Milton tribute episode, did we?
I don't think.
Yes, we did. Did we?
He only played 4 games with the Pistons and then got shipped off. So he's only appeared in 6 games with the Knicks. So again, it's kind of interesting because I don't know. I mean, Tibbs might not know exactly what he's going to do with all this again because I mean lineups shrink a little bit when the postseason comes, and might just depend on which of these guards are playing well and going to get those kind of reserve minutes. I mean, DiVincenzo's been very good this year.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about someone like kind of almost like a most improved category. I mean, he's averaging over 15 a game, previously around 9-10. He's knocking down threes at 40% on 8.7 attempts per game. So he gets them up early and often. He's kind of like the Buddy Hield of the Knicks with how many threes he takes. But I think one of the challenges that they present is tied in with that kind of unique style of play that they have, and without having Randall, they can kind of fit into that unique style even more so, that identity. Because Randall sometimes, I mean, he just pounds the heck out of the ball and dribbles it into the ground and then chucks something up.
He's kind of a ball stopper.
Yeah. And so,
yeah.
I mean, Knicks fans are probably thinking, that without him, maybe they can continue doing what they've been doing.
And
I mean, it's our hope here on Planet 76 that they need him. But I mean, he's a ball stopper for sure.
It's crazy because the past couple weeks I've talked to some Knicks fans, like online and in person, and they don't like Julius Randle. Like, it's weird.
Right.
They don't like him, and
averaging 23
they say the
whatever,
same thing.
yeah.
Like, he hurts the offense. He can't really play defense. I'm just thinking, like, do all Knicks fans feel this way? I got to get a better survey of Knicks fans, but I've talked to quite a few the past couple weeks, and they don't like him.
Yeah.
They are a very anti-Julius Randle in the sense of not that he stinks or anything, but that he just kind of hurts the team because he's not a good defender and he hurts the offense because sometimes he just dribbles the clock out, like you just said.
Yeah.
It's crazy that
right, to say that about someone on your team that's averaging 24, 9, and 5.
Yeah.
And you don't like him is interesting, but it sort of makes sense because again, just because of this identity that they have now of all these guards that can kind of defend too. I mean they've got some very good defenders, as you mentioned, and they got guys that are going to get shots up. They got a game manager / like, guy that you want with the ball in his hands late in Jalen Brunson. And so they certainly pose a threat. Another way that they pose a threat, now the Sixers are certainly a more athletic team than they were last year. It's not like you have to worry about George Niang going around and chasing Dante DiVincenzo. Look at George Niang catching a stray, but just so uncalled for. But my point is because they're so quick and have guys that can get up and down the floor, and Julius Randle's not out there, the concern that I have is surrounding Joel Embiid. Yeah. Him getting up and down and chasing guys around, and they're going to not only put him in difficult situations when he has the ball on offense, but they're going to try and get him moving and get him uncomfortable on defense. Yeah. So, Paul Reed could be a big key in this series and his minutes to kind of – because he can move with the best of them too. So just something to watch there.
That's a good point.
All right. So Sixers, let's kind of talk about them for a moment. What, because we've talked a little bit now about the Knicks kind of advantages that they're going to look toward, but what are some keys that you see to the Sixers being able to win the series? Obviously, Knicks have home court advantage. They've won 50 games this year, but how can the Sixers win the series? You don't have to give a prediction, but like, what's some keys to them being able to do that?
I mean, I think the Sixers have star power in their favor. I think Maxey and Embiid duo is something that the Knicks don't have, and I think obviously Embiid is going to be a problem for the Knicks, even if he's 70%, which a lot of signs are pointing to him being right now. Plus, I'm pretty sure somebody said he's like 70%, which makes sense considering what we saw tonight. But Embiid's going to be a problem. Either way, him being on the court is a problem for any teams. We kind of talked about it last episode. Him being there causes problems for the team, whether he's 30% or 70%.
Yeah.
Him being there. You have to game plan for him. You have to focus a big chunk of your attention to him. So him being there causes problems for you. And I think the Sixers are deeper than the Knicks. I think they have better depth. I think they have better. I think the role players are better. I think Batum, Oubre, Heel, Lowry, Payne, Reed are better than anybody the Knicks really have outside of Brunson. I mean, maybe with the exception of OG Anunoby. Maybe I'm just super high on him. I don't know. But I think the Sixers are deeper than them. I think they have better depth. I think Nick Nurse is a better coach than Tom Thibodeau. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is that good of a coach. Could just be my hater coming out.
Yeah.
I don't think it is because I genuinely have never really thought that he was a great coach. I think Nick Nurse is a better coach. I just think the Sixers have a much more favorable situation for them than the Knicks do. And obviously I know that's not always how the playoffs work. I know that's not how basketball always works, but I think that it could work for the Sixers this time. I think it could work in their favor this time around.
You make some interesting points. I think, again, if you go back to playoffs of years past, some things that have killed the Sixers is their lack of depth. But
right, but we were both just talking about it. This is a team that has dudes. They just have guys that just come out and hoop. Right.
And it makes a difference. In a series, again, I mean, take a guy like Buddy Hield, for example.
Yeah.
Or Kelly Oubre. They're in this series. If they're going to win the series, it might have to be a game where one or both of those guys knock down a lot of shots. And Buddy Hield's more than capable, for a massive breakout game. I mean, they don't call him Buddy Buckets for no reason. The dude can fill it up, and he hasn't done that in a while for the Sixers. He made quite a few shots in the season finale, I think. But they have guys. I mean, that's a guy that's coming off the bench that can really, really score. And I hadn't really thought about that, but I don't disagree with you. I think their depth, 6 through 10, is better. Certainly. That doesn't mean that the Knicks don't have some guys. Again, Bogdanovich, they got McBride. Alec Burks might see some time. We know what DiVincenzo and Josh Hart have done this year, and they've been impressive. These Villanova guys, but
Villanova Knicks.
The Villanova Knicks, exactly. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but based on kind of what I'm kind of feeling from what you're saying, what you're getting at, in your opinion, the Sixers should win this series. They should win. They should win.
They should. They are the better team. In theory, the better team should win. Now, that's not always the case. So before anyone says anything, I know that. But in theory, the better team should win. And I imagine there's a statistic out there that backs this, that the better team wins a majority of the time. There has to be a statistic out there that backs this. The better team wins majority of the time. In theory, if you're better, you should win.
Yeah.
If you're better than someone or something or some team in this case, you should beat the team that you're better than. The team, you should beat the team that is worse than you. That's just how it works. So in theory, yes, they should win. The Sixers are obviously my pick to win this game. This series. They're my pick to win this series. I think they're going to win in 6 games. I don't know if we're giving our prediction right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Later.
Let's do it.
I think they're winning in 6.
Okay.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I kind of I felt the need to go there because it seems like you're trending that way.
That's fine. I mean, I'm sure you feel very similarly, if not the same, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm confident. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about Brunson again. He's on an absolute tear. But I am worried about the other guys. There's a lot to be concerned with, but the Sixers have Joel Embiid and the Knicks don't. You mentioned the 1-2 punch of he and Maxey. The Knicks positively do not have that. So that's kind of reassuring, and I'm good with that. I'm good with Sixers and 6. I'm good with that.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Close it out at home.
Yep.
I think that's going to require, them getting 1 or 2 of the first 2 in New York, and then, just taking care of business at home. So that could be an easy series. I almost feel like tonight against Miami, like that felt like a series in itself. It was one
Oh
freaking
my
game,
gosh. Took years off my life.
That's what I'm saying. It did. It did, but
Oh
Sixers do
man.
survive. It was very, very
Yeah.
important to get that because, again, this was the matchup we wanted. Could have been
Mhm.
the Bucks. We didn't want it to be the Celtics as an 8-1, and we get the Knicks 2-7. Tipping off Saturday. I'll give the schedule real quick, and then you can kind of give any closing thoughts. But
Yeah.
Saturday, 6 o'clock, ESPN will be Game 1 at Madison Square Garden. Game 2, Monday at 7:30 Eastern on TNT. Get a couple days off, and back in Philadelphia, Game 3, Thursday at 7:30 on TNT. And then a couple more days off, and they're going to be Game 4, Sunday at 1 o'clock on ABC at home again. Tuesday, Game 5, if necessary, will be Tuesday. They don't have a time for that, April 30th. Game 6 would be Thursday, the 2nd of May, and then Game 7 would be Saturday, May 4th. So just be aware of that, Sixers fans, and the upcoming schedule. And, kind of the interesting thing about the play-in is that, man, like, there ain't no time off. Like, that's why we're doing our round 1 preview episode right now, because it's going on Thursday already and Game 1 Saturday, so we got to get this content out. But Michael, any other closing thoughts, general thoughts on the Sixers or this series?
No, I don't really have much else. I'm glad that we can avoid Boston, let the Heat deal with them, let the Heat maybe take them out in the process.
Good.
Maybe. But no, I'm just excited. I'm glad that this game is over with. I'm glad we got the result we wanted.
Yep.
And that's it. I don't have anything else to say. I want the series to arrive, obviously a few days before the series begins, but I'm excited. And hopefully Embiid is a little better. Hopefully Embiid is like maybe 80%.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's possible, 10% in 3 days, but that'd be cool. I'm hoping Maxey is good because he got hit at the first quarter. I'm hoping he's good. And just hoping the supporting cast can, even if they give you half of what they gave you tonight, I think we should be good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Agreed. It's coming. Round 1, Sixers Knicks. Real quick, though, before we sign off, just a reminder for everybody, Planet 7-6 5-minute recaps are returning. And if you're new here and you're like, what is that? Let me tell you. Planet 7-6 5-minute recaps is a quick 5-6 minute recap following every single Philadelphia 76ers playoff game. And so obviously, round 1, game 1 is coming up Saturday at 6 o'clock. And that means a Planet 7-6 5-minute recap will be posted on all of our platforms shortly following the conclusion of that game. Michael's up for game 1, and so that'll be posted on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, and on Planet 76 Podcast Instagram. So make sure to check that out. Again, just quick recaps of every game, just something we've done for the last couple playoffs, and we absolutely love it. We're very good at it. I ain't going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and we do it. We get it up easily, quickly, consistently, and we like to provide that for you. There will also be full-length episodes throughout these playoffs, so be on the lookout for those. If I had to guess, the next full-length episode that we do, kind of breaking down this series, would be on Monday night after Game 2. Potentially Tuesday would be when that would come out as the Sixers get ready to come back home. So just be on the lookout for a lot of episodes, a lot of content, a lot of clips on Instagram. My goodness, we've been going at it. So follow us on Instagram if you don't already. And let's enjoy the ride. 76ers playoff basketball is upon us. Sixers Knicks Saturday 6 o'clock. Planet 7-6 5-minute recap coming shortly after that. Be on the lookout. Be ready. Let's go Sixers. You just listened to an episode of the Planet 76 podcast. Hey, we appreciate you joining us for this episode. Whatever platform you're on, why don't you hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time.